Hi. One of the many aspects of cinema is how it allows the writers and the directors to express themselves in a way they probably would not in real life. For that reason, filmmakers may also be considered as artists as they strive to transform the images in their brain into something tangible. Sometimes that can result in inspiring imageries and iconic characters that lift us up and help us discover ourselves through their journeys on screen. However, other times it can result in twisted fictional worlds that throw us into the filmmaker's deepest, darkest nightmares. The best thing about foreign films is that they exist outside of Hollywood's systematic filmmaking machine, and that allows independent filmmakers to come in and take as many risks as they possibly can. Their artistry and freedom of expression has led to some of the weirdest but also most interestingly disturbing movies ever made. Sometimes it can be an entire movie that leaves a mark on its viewers, or other times it's just a scene in a movie that makes you look at everything else within the film completely differently, in an unsettling way. Like the sacrifice of a newborn baby in Black Gods, White Devils. Today, what we want to do is to pick 5 movies that, so far, we think are the craziest, most twisted, most haunting foreign films ever made. Movies that are not just gory for the sake of it. Movies that are not blandly disgusting, but rather aim at tackling complex subject matters in a way only great artists can through visual metaphors.
Mama?
Directed by Veronika Franz and Severin Fiala, Goodnight Mommy is a German thriller that follows twin boys Lukas and Elias, played by Lukas and Elias Schwartz. After a reconstructive surgery, the twins welcome their mother back home. However, after noticing her distant and abusive behavior, the boys begin to doubt the woman's true identity, which led to scenes of torture that sees 2 little boys torture their own mother for nearly half an hour. This movie is masterfully directed and does not shy away from the disturbing nature of its subject matter. With multiple twists and turns, Goodnight Mommy made sure to be both unsettling and shocking. Tenebria is a movie that follows an author who lands in Italy to promote the release of his new book, Tenebria. As soon as he gets there, he quickly realizes that there is a series of murders happening in the city of Rome, with the murderer using his book as an inspiration. Soon after, his own life is threatened when he learns that the serial killer is stalking him and murdering each person associated with his latest work. Tenebria is not the most shocking movie on this list, but it is certainly the most realistically brutal of them all. Sometimes, slasher films either go too far with the violence to grab the audience's attention, or not far enough. Tenebria strikes the perfect balance between gratuitous violence and style. It is disturbing for all the right reasons. What's funny about Tenebria is that when it was released, it received mixed reactions because of its highly censored version released for American audiences. Later on, the uncut version was released, and it immediately made the movie a certified classic. Dario Argento already proved himself to be a true master of the giallo genre with Suspiria and Inferno, but Tenebria is where he truly cemented his legacy as one of the best to ever do it. Brutal murders, an enraged dog relentlessly attacking a defenseless woman, multiple plot twists throughout the film makes Tenebria not only one of the most disturbing movies ever made, but also one of the coolest horror movies of all time. Raw Raw is about Justin, a lifelong vegetarian who joins the veterinary school alongside her sister Alexia. There, she is forced to eat raw meat as an initiation trope. Unfortunately for her and her sister, they develop a real taste for meat, and not just animal but human meat as well. It is a movie that would disturb anyone who has trouble with excessive use of blood, and especially vegetarians who cannot stand the thought of animals being eaten, let alone human beings. Julia Ducournau is currently regarded as a bold storyteller who doesn't shy away from graphic imageries to get a point across. And while her movie Titan has its fair share of shocking and disturbing moments, Raw is much more effective with its message. It is made to be disgusting on purpose, its main characters falling deeper and deeper into madness while succumbing to the desire of consuming human flesh is as heartbreaking as it is disturbing. A young woman and her friend embark in a quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and abused her as a child. After finding the kidnappers, the women are led on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. Out of all the movies on this list, Martyrs is definitely one of the toughest ones to get through. Not only is it initially about the kidnapping and abuse of children, it takes an even darker turn halfway through the movie to become this twisted and unbearable nightmare where the audience is forced to watch a woman get tortured for half an hour, with each torture getting more and more unsettling to watch. The two halves of this movie can feel like two different stories altogether, with the first part being more straightforward on its approach to a typical revenge tale, and the second part being more psychological in its execution. The lack of a clear payoff makes these long torture scenes feel cheap and unsatisfying, and Martyrs does not seem to always succeed at getting its message across. However, it is a movie that clearly aimed at scarring its audience while turning itself into a psychological horror classic, and on that front, it succeeds with flying colors. Come and See is an anti-war film directed by Elem Klimov, which follows a teenager named Fliora who joins the war after the invasion of the Nazis in Belarus against his family's wishes. What follows is a series of atrocious events witnessed through the eyes of an innocent young man. Come and See does not hold back on its depiction of war. The movie is not interested in glamorizing the war in any way. Director Elem Klimov fought Soviet censors for a decade to release his masterpiece. He didn't even receive permission for the movie to be made, not because it was anti-Soviet, but because it was deemed too realistic. The project was shelved in the 70s and Klimov went on to work on other projects. It wasn't until 1984 that the movie finally got around censorship and began production, and was released the following year to critical praise. Legendary film critic Roger Ebert raved about the movie as well, stating, "It is one of the most devastating films ever made about anything. In it, the survivors must envy the dead." Come and See is also one of the most unconventional movies ever released in the sense that it is not interested in building characters or creating an arc for its main protagonist. The only thing the director offers us here is a point of view which makes the movie's title extremely fitting, as if Klimov wants to force the audience to experience the atrocities of the war without having to go to the battlefield. It's like a virtual tour that is not interested in the guns and the explosions, but on the effect those things have on regular people who would have rather be left out of it but were forced into it regardless. Come and see maybe the toughest movie to get through, but it is unfortunately a movie that is essential for a genuine understanding of traumas caused by war. Whichever you may think is the most disturbing or most shocking movie ever made, foreign or otherwise, they are probably the most unique and creative movies you have ever watched. The only way such movies work is if the graphic imageries or uncomfortable scenes are made to convey a message or to enhance the story instead of planting disturbing scenes just for shock value. There is no award for the most disturbing movie ever because it is all subjective and movies affect us all differently. For that reason, why don't you look inside and ask yourself why any movie made you feel uncomfortable or uneasy? Who knows, you may discover something about yourself. That's what it's all about.
Weißt du, wie viel Sternlein stehen auf dem weiten Himmelszelt? Weißt du, wie viel Wolken gehen weit hinüber die ganze Welt? Gott, der Herr, hat sie gezählet, dass ihm auch nicht eines fehlet. Kennt doch dich und hat dich lieb, kennt doch dich und hat dich lieb. Gute Nacht.